Hi everyone, my name's Cole Harding. I'm one of the senior lecturers at the University of Bolton in the games department, and this is just going to be a brief tutorial about Unreal Engine 4, and we're just going to kind of make a moving object basically in there that you can kind of mess about with and use to do various things. So first of all, you're going to need Unreal Engine, so you need to come to Epic Games, click on Get Epic Games, and then download and install that. And then once you've got that in their Epic Launcher, if you go to their marketplace, basically install the correct version of Unreal. The latest one is 4.26 as of this. And we're going to use, and I would kind of recommend you use this advanced Locomotion. Whoops, maybe we'll just go with Locomotion. And this advanced Locomotion v4. So you basically buy, in inverted commas, this because it's free. And then once you've got it installed, you can just create a project and it'll create that project for you. And then once you've done that, you'll be at this stage. And so this is like the example scene within it. And this is some stuff I actually added, so let's get rid of that. And then this is kind of what you end up with. So again, I've been messing about with it. I've got a torch on here. And there's all kinds of different things you can choose to just like default. I should probably get rid of that. Torch. So let's do that. Okay. So yeah, so you've got this character to play about with. It responds. In fact, let's full screen it as well. I think I've actually reduced the speed on this one as well, and you can mantle up things and do various things. It's pretty cool. Definitely like a really fun playground to kind of mess about in. Okay, and then there's some characters over there as well. Some enemy ones over there you can see who are kind of targeting me as we wander about. You can see they're kind of aiming at me as I move around. And then you've got some other characters here as well. So yeah, really fun playground to kind of mess about with and make various things. What we're actually going to do is we're going to just get rid of those shadows. We're going to just make kind of a moving platform similar to those at the back, I guess, but you can use it for various different things. So if you're unfamiliar with Unreal Engine, basically this is kind of all the elements of the project down here. So there's all different things from blueprints, which are kind of what we're going to make, static meshes, which are kind of things you can place in the world, skeletal meshes are like characters, weapons, that kind of thing. So yeah, very quick overview. On this left hand side here, you can drag things into the scene, or maybe a light. And then there's different kinds of lights as well. Player start, staircases, and then again on this details panel over here. So at the top you've got the world outliner, which is basically everything that's in this scene. So in this scene here, there are 118 actors or objects of one kind of form or another. And then anything you have selected, the kind of details of that are down here. So if we want to change the amount of stairs here to 20, you can see that's increased the size of that staircase. So, okay. We're actually, because there's quite a bit going on in here, we're actually going to do it in a new level. So, first of all, we're going to go File, New Level. And we'll just do it in this default one, actually. Now, if I click play, there we go. If for any reason yours doesn't immediately come in with the character, all you need to do is go to Edit, Project Settings, Maps and Modes, and then up here there's a default game mode. That might just be game mode or game mode base, so you just need to change that to ALS game mode, which is the advanced locomotion system, and then that should automatically then, this might be folded up like that, this will then automatically populate it with the Animan character. And so once you've done that, if you've got a player starting, which is here, which has been brought in from this side, just drag it in. When you click play, the player character should start from there. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is just gonna, if you hold down Alt and drag on that, then it's just gonna duplicate that. So we're just making our platform a little bit bigger. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to create a new blueprint. Now I've already got a blueprint folder here, but if you don't have one and you want to add a new one, if you can't see this little section, there's like that little button there. If you just click it, it'll come out and show you the folders at the side. So I'm going to add, in fact, I'm just going to right mouse click on that content folder, add a new folder. I'm just going to call it Blueprints 2. Okay, and then within this one, you can either right mouse click, go to Blueprint Class, or with it selected, go to Add Blueprint Class. It's an actor that we want. And we're just going to call it BP, which is a naming convention for blueprints. And then moving object, I guess. We don't want to kind of categorize it too closely into anything specific. Now, if there's an asterisk there, it means it's not been saved. So if Unreal crashed now, it means that this would disappear. We'd have to recreate it again. So I'm just going to click Save All there. That's asking me to confirm that it's going to save these different objects. That's all fine. It's asking me to save the level because it's untitled at the minute. So I'm just going to call it New Level. Okay, and now you can see the asterisk has gone here, so that is saved. I'm going to double click on it to open it, and then this is like the blueprint editor. So there's a few different parts to that. The first thing we're going to look at is the viewport. So this shows you like the objects and actors within here, or various components. So we're going to go up here to the top left, go to Add Component, and we're going to add a cube. And I guess we're just going to leave it like that to start with. So compile, save, we've got our cube there, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the event graph. Now the event graph is where you can make the code effectively that's going to run at runtime and do various things. So I'm just going to select all of those with the left mouse button. We don't actually need any of those. As it says here, right click to create a new node. So we're going to right click and we're going to start with a timeline. Now, as with many pieces of software, there's various ways to go about kind of doing these things. So there are kind of alternative methods to doing it this way, but this is just the way we're going to do it. And so this is a timeline. If you double click on it, it'll open it up, and then you can add various kinds of tracks. Now we actually want a float track, which will just be kind of one value effectively. And we're going to hold down Shift and left click 1, 2, 3 times. Now the first one, I just did left mouse button to highlight that. I'm going to set the value to 0 and 0. The second one, we're going to set it to 2. So the time is set to 2 and the value is set to 1. And then the third one, time is going to be set to 4 and the value is going to be set to 0. Now if you click these two little arrows here, it's basically going to fit, or it should fit, everything in. Maybe we need to select all of those. There we go. Okay, so we've got kind of a little pyramid with them all selected as well, so you can do that if you didn't notice. Just hold down left mouse button, draw a box around them. Then I'm going to right mouse click on one of them and do auto there. And that's just going to make it more like a kind of bell curve, so it's going to smooth out the movement basically. Now, because at the moment our last point is at 4 seconds, we're going to change the length of our graph to 4 seconds as well. You can see that's kind of ended there now. And we're actually going to loop it. And let's autoplay it as well. Okay, so we've got that. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a variable. So this is going to be start position. And we need to click on this because we want to change it to a vector. And a vector, changing that to a vector, if we click compile, basically allows us to enter 3 values, an X, Y and a Z value, which is what we want. And then we want to add another, and this is going to be our end position. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to set our start position to the position of the cube here, which is 0, 0, 0. So that's fine, that's already 0, 0, 0. And then our end position, you can see here there's no values, but it says please compile the blueprint. So if you click on compile, now it's giving you values for that. So for that, we're going to set it to 200 in the Z. So in Unreal, Z is up, and you can kind of see down here, the green arrow is Y, the red arrow is X, and the blue arrow is Z, so that's up. Okay, so let's compile that. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to right mouse click, and we're going to do a lerp. And we want this one, the lerp, and then vector in brackets. And so the colours kind of match up here. So if we drag these in, we want to get the start position. You can also do it if you hold down Control and drag it in. And we're going to plug our start position in there, our end position in there. So what a lerp is going to do is it's going to switch between these positions based on the alpha value. You can see the alpha value is green, and it's saying there it's a float. And our track from our timeline, this one here, this is also a float value. If you remember, we added the float track in order to create it. So if we plug that in there, what's going to happen is basically as this value changes, and the alpha only needs to change between 0 and 1, which is what our graph is doing, it's basically going to go from the start position to the end position here, and then back to the start position, or from A to B and then back to A. Now, in order for that to actually affect our cube, we actually need to drag our cube in, drag out of that, and set relative, oops, need to spell it correctly, relative location. Now, we need to follow the Ghostbusters rule here and try wherever possible not to cross the streams, although I guess I could potentially fix that one. In fact, oops. You can add those just by double clicking on it, so it's going to give us a bit more space. Okay, and then we've got our cube there, and then finally this value is going to go into there. So let's see what happens. So I'm going to drag in my blueprint and click play. So now you can see that's moving, and I can probably jump on top of that as well. And so just to, now you've kind of seen it moving, hopefully you can see that is basically this. So it's the start position, moving up to its maximum height, and then moving back to the start position, and then because it's looping, it's going back to here and just repeating it over and over. So if we go back here, there's a couple of things you can do. In fact, sorry, so we could go into the end position, and so we could set that to say 500. Now the time is staying the same, so that means it's going to move faster because it's going higher. Okay, and you could reduce the speed, or reduce the speed by extending the amount of time, or other things. Now the other thing we could potentially do is let's add an arrow. Okay, and just gonna call this start position. Oops. So I'm just pressing F2 to rename it here. Okay, so we're going to leave start position where it is, but for the end position we're going to change that to, say, there. And so now what we can do is we can bring these in. Get relative location. And I'm just going to copy and paste that to do the same for this one. And we're going to use these basically for our positions. Just about fits in. Okay, now let's just double check that that's still working, and you can see it is. Now the benefit of doing it this way is we can now adjust the position. So if we move this over here and click play, so now it's moving across to the side. So this makes it much more versatile because you can use the same blueprint to do multiple things. So if I escape out of this again, let's get our UI back. I'm just pressing F11 when I go to full screen. We could drag another one of these in. So you can see that one is still up at the top. We can hold down Alt and then, whoops, go here and let's do the end for that. And in fact, let's move that quite far away so it's moving quite a bit faster. Okay, so now you can see just with that simple blueprint, you've got multiple things going on here. So, you know, this could be for like a jumping game. You could have a moving platform. You could potentially use it as a lift as well. And again, you can kind of modify this so that maybe it's not moving all the time and maybe it only moves when you do it with a button press. And so, yeah, as I say, we've just using the same blueprint for everything here, but it's doing lots of different things. And that's all just by the way it's created, the different elements here, and setting it up so that it's kind of versatile enough to be used for different things. And that's kind of a key to the blueprints, in my opinion, and definitely their strength. So hopefully you found that interesting and useful. And yeah, feel free to show us what you've made with this. And maybe if you pushed it a bit further than, you know, this is obviously really basic and really at one end of the scale. But yeah, and this is the kind of thing, along with much kind of deeper stuff than this, that you would learn on our courses at the university. We also do a lot of kind of video content like this for our students, whether it's kind of specific tutorials for our lectures, or whether it's just on the fly ones where a student's approached us and they're struggling, and then a lot of the time we like to use videos to help kind of guide the players and offer support. We also do it with regard to our feedback for a lot of our assignments now. You know, you're creating very visual kind of content, whether that's levels or artwork or whatever, and so it makes sense for as much of our feedback as possible really to be in video form, so we can show you on your models or on your levels, you know, what we're talking about and how you could potentially improve it. We also use Discord an awful lot to create a community for our students where they can offer feedback to one another and show off their work to one another as well as getting support and feedback from both other students and staff when they're away from the classroom. So yeah, hopefully this was useful, and feel free to get in touch.